fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to
Oh my god!
Oh.
Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, here we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Welcome one and welcome all to SimSpeed TV this Thursday night. Once again, it is Dirt Night and it's round 5 of the ODSE Wheelman Challenge presented by Buffalo Motors, run of course by Oceanic Dirt Sim Events. Well, it's been quite the championship so far. We've seen a great mix of car and track combinations, testing the mettle of the top drivers in the AusNZ Sim Sphere, and a few besides as well. Now we move to round 5 at Volusia Speedway Park in the 410 winged sprint car. Been looking forward to this one for a while, and I know some of the drivers have as well. My name's Reese Gardner. Joining me in the commentary box tonight, as always, Cameron Dance. G'day, Cam. We're back at Volusia, and it feels good.
Yeah, it certainly does. It's, I guess, good to be back to what we'd call normal, really, with the fact that we're at sprint cars and at Volusia. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing what's going to happen tonight. It's a car and track almost everyone here, if not everyone, is entirely familiar with the fact that they've raced this at some point with these cars. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing what the show's going to be like tonight and what sort of racing is going to happen and who's going to come out on top.
Yeah, exactly. There's obviously the vast majority of the drivers most familiar with this kind of car on the iRacing service, so I reckon this is going to be one of the most competitive rounds yet. We saw some big surprises in the UMP Modified at Lanier last week, but now we're back on reasonable home turf at this brilliant quarter-mile dirt speedway in Florida. Started out as a dirt oval. It got paved in the 1980s and held some NASCAR second-tier series races in that time. Then it was converted back to dirt, and it's still one of the premier dirt racing venues in the United States. In terms of the championship as well, we've got a few things to talk about because, man, Bradley Oldfield has been on an excellent run. He Ended up taking the most points in round 4 in the UMP modifieds, and he's had the best run out of just about everyone so far. He currently leads by 154 points over Harry Stewart, but that gap can very easily be closed up before the end of the season.
Yeah, it certainly can. And 2 rounds to go as well. So every chance that it could close up and anything can happen as well. So it's really going to be a matter of just damage limitation at this point for Oldfield with how big of a margin he's got over the likes of Harry Stewart and everyone else behind him. So if he can do well here tonight, he should be okay for when we get to Charlotte next week.
Indeed, and we should keep an eye on drivers further in the top 10 in the championship. Drivers like Jaden Russell, Caden Brown, and Ethan Bastian, they're only separated by 30 points, so that could really change up by the time we get to the end of the night, the end of the 30-lap feature that we have tonight at Volusia. We're just waiting for the event to properly get started as we have drivers come out session. And then we'll move on to the typical format that we've got here at Volusia. It is 4 minutes of qualifying. Every driver gets 2 laps each to set their best time.
Instantly, it's one of those tracks, again, we're so used to here, and we know probably what the line is going to be for qualifying, but that said, it's really still going to be one of those things where probably a lot of these drivers have actually been out of the seat for so long in these things that they're actually going to have to try and use warm-up to some extent to try and get back into a rhythm with the fact that they've been out of it for so long. So it's really going to be interesting. Obviously, those who competed in the likes of the Australian Sprint Car Series not too long ago will be probably the quickest ones up there, as Joel Berkeley's put himself at the top of the timesheets, currently beaten just by Harry Stewart by absolutely nothing. But yeah, it's so far looking like it's a pretty close field.
Yeah, certainly is. The practice time's just flying in at the moment. Harry Stewart going to P1 on the timesheets, just 17 thousandths ahead of Joel Berkeley. Harry Stewart was one of the drivers in massive contention in the UMPs at Lanier last week, narrowly missing out on a victory in the feature. So he'll be looking to capitalize on this as well. We're getting a proper look here at how the cars go around Volusia, and you see a bit of experimentation with the lines, but by and large, it seems that when the track is fresh, the inside is the place to be. But as we move on through the night and it slicks up down at the bottom, you're going to start to see drivers moving further and further towards the outside wall. Some drivers will be feeding the right rear to it every lap by the end.
Yeah, certainly. It's the nature of this track with the way that the track is formed in there. You pretty much end up having that right rear on the wall at the end of the night of racing when the track's really, really slicked up, and then you get some drivers really running it right down on the bottom side of the racetrack against that concrete wall as well. So it's a track of, I guess, 2 flavors at the end of the day when it gets really, really slick, and it's just a matter of what you want to do and how quick you want to go.
Yeah, well, how quick you want to go down the back stretch is going to be a point of contention later on. This is the front stretch. Obviously, you can see it's a straight line, but once the drivers come out of that first turn, you can see it being demonstrated right now. You see the way that Bradley Oldfield takes this corner. He goes in. Oh, okay. Right, that was not a legitimate attempt at a lap, I don't think, from Bradley. And neither is Nathan Norman either, having some issues of his own. But we'll figure it out as we go on. John Schultz, there we go, down the back stretch. It's slightly curved. And later on in the night, if you stick down to the inside, you can really get some traction because the dirt down low, down that back stretch, is left mostly untouched. You can see there John Schultz almost demonstrating that for us, but electing to go back to the pits as we have checkered flag in the session. And now we're through into the time trials, qualifying. Been looking forward to this. Let's see just how fast these drivers can go. It was Harry Stewart who put it on top in the practice session. Can he maintain that, or can Joel Berkeley find a couple of extra tenths? What about Bradley Oldfield, championship leader? What can he do? He comes round to start the first of his 2 laps and taking it quite easy through the turns to start off with. He's going to really increase the pace on this next one. Mr. Oldfield through first, and that is second on the timesheets for him. Clayton Davies just going a little bit faster. So he's going to have to be careful. Pit down to third by Nathan Clark. Oldfield's going to have to find a bit of extra pace here. How fast can he go on his second lap? Unfortunately, not faster. He's just been knocked back a further spot to fourth and now to fifth as Harry Stewart and then Trent Gosley go and smash their way to the top. And Clayton Davies on a 13-2. Looking like a good night for Davies so far.
Yeah, it certainly is looking like a very, very good night by the looks of it, with the way things are looking, especially with the gap that he's got as well, which is pretty reasonable here at Volusia. So we'll see what happens. And David Heilemann coming across the line now to start his first flying lap. We'll see what the Heilemaniac can indeed do here at Volusia, coming down the back straight on the way through turn number 3. Using a bit of a slow line on the way through to try and keep away from that slick. Comes across the line and ends up putting himself in P13 for his first lap.
Well, he's continuing on and getting very aggressive on the turn and into the last corner. He's all the way up to the top, and I don't think that's going to help his time there. That is not a representative time for David Heilemann, and just dropping a bit further down the field as more drivers set times up ahead of him. Brenton Hobson in the number 88, obviously streaming as well. Where on earth has he gone? A couple of other drivers up the top there with Joel Berkeley and Lewis Hewitt going for it. And just 1,000th of a second between the two of them as Hobson goes to 16th for 13.307. How good is that gap up the top? Clayton Tilley! There goes Clayton Tilley right to the top. 13.177 for him, beating Lewis Hewitt and Joel Berkeley, who have effectively set the same time. And these times are so close as Caden Brown goes 7th.
Yeah, they're extremely close at the moment. Barely any time in it. There's just nothing in it. It would just literally be a degree or two of steering lock that would just make that sort of difference. Again, Brown, it goes to stays in P7 and does not improve on that lap.
And it looks like that's all of the time set for the drivers. We've still got a minute to go in this qualifying session, but that is the lay of the land. That's your top 10 times there. And also noting that Nathan Clark and Brad O'Brien at the end of the top 10 setting at the exact same time as well as Lewis Hewitt and Joel Berkeley. So the way these guys are going to be sorted out into their heats is not what's represented here. The actual starting grids for the heats are going to be very different from this, but top 10 there looking incredibly close, all within a 10th. The session's been moved forward, and we can now go into the meat of the night, the heats. The first one is ready to go. We've got a 9-car grid for this one. It's going to be Clayton Tilley on top, having set the fastest time in qualifying, with Trent Gosley alongside him on the first row. Nathan Clark and Mitchell Broom on the second row, with Nathan Norman and Jaden Russell on row 3. Heilemaniac Mania in the number 7 spot, with Ethan Bastian alongside on row 4, and Jacob Dixon rounding out the field for this first heat of the night. Looking forward to this one because Clayton Tilley, Trent Gosley right at the front. That is a good pairing. Got to think about David Heilemann, Ethan Bastian, and Jacob Dixon as well. They're 3 guys starting at the back of this one, but we know that they're fast in these cars.
Yeah, we certainly do know that they're very, very quick in these cars specifically and have a lot of experience, so they'll be able to use that to their advantage. Track doesn't look like it's probably going to be ideal conditions for them to try and make their way through the field, but we'll have to wait and see what happens, and I'm sure they'll be able to gain a few positions, and if not, make it into the top 4 at least.
Well, we shall see. Everyone just waiting for the pace truck to get going. There it is, and we will be led around for 2 formation laps. So plenty of time for the drivers to suss out how the track's evolved after qualifying. You can definitely see on the entry and the exit of the turns coming onto the front straight, there's a lot of slick down there. So the drivers are going to have to avoid that if they want to maintain momentum. Obviously, it also means that they're going to be pushed up the circuit a little bit, so there might be a little less space for these drivers if everyone decides to avoid the slick. But I do know that there are some drivers out there who love slick tracks. They'll do everything in their power to get it done. A little bit of a problem for the drivers up the back of this one. Heilemann and Dixon have gone into the wall. Did they come together? I think they did. Jacob Dixon Jacob Dixon went for a spin and then tagged David Heilemann. So it's no good for him. So slight bit of damage for both of those drivers. You don't want to get together on the formation lap. You haven't even started racing yet.
Yeah, certainly not an ideal situation at all. And it just looks like, I guess, Dixon was trying to figure out how much grip there actually was, and probably caught out a little bit by the fact that it was a little bit more than he possibly expected. But Pace Cup truck is indeed in wear green in racing, and very, very good jump by Clayton Tilley.
Yeah, excellent jump by Tilley, and he leads into turn one as Nathan Clark tries pressuring Trent Gosley for second. Have a look at the run down the inside from Mitchell Broom, trying to stick it up the inside of Nathan Clark, but not working for him. Gosley round the outside now gets Clark down the front stretch, and he's going to go for the over-under out of the second turn, and with the inside line for turn three, that should be position secured at least for now, but maybe not. Nathan Clark holding on lovely around the outside. I can't really find my words. There's so many drivers all together here back in the pack. No touching Clayton Tilley, but everyone else can't get out of each other's hair.
Yeah, they certainly can't get out of each other's hair as they nose to tail at the moment. Trent Gosley goes for a slide job into turn number one to try and get ahead of Nathan Clark, but Clark going to drive it back underneath him on the way into turn number three and do the same thing back to him, and he's going to hold on to P2, this is going to allow Russell to close up slowly on these two in front of him, and we've even got the likes of Heilemann, who's not too far off a transfer spot at this stage in P number 5, and he's actually starting to close in on Russell as well. So let's see what happens here, and it looks like Nathan Clark might have just done enough at this stage to clear Trent Gosley.
Yes, of course, the top four from the heats get a free ride straight into the feature. And David Heilemann, making his way past Mitchell Broom, gave him a bit of a bump to get into that spot. Now really pressuring Jaden Russell as the penultimate lap begins. Another slide job attempt by Gosley on Clark, but it hasn't worked once again. Tell you what, Clark is facing up against a great deal of pressure here, but David Heilemann now starting to close up on the back of that third and fourth as we're now on to the final lap. There's no touching Clayton Tilley. He has been absolute stalwart from start to finish, coming across the line to take victory. That's Nathan Clark in second, Gosley third, Jaden Russell in fourth. So David Heilemann started at seventh, advances forward a couple of positions, but ultimately he misses out on a spot in the feature by 4/10. Norman, Bastian, Broom, and Dixon as well are going to have to work their way through the consolations if they want a feature grid spot. It's time to move on very quickly into Heat 2. These events just fly by. Lewis HEWET is going to start on pole for this one in the 03, alongside Daniel Gow in the 22. That is a great front row there. Basically a great heat altogether. This is a great field. O'Brien and Wilson on the second row, with Hobson and Payton joining each other on row 3. Tyler Bish and Dylan DeBono rounding out the field. Tell you what, any of these drivers can be capable of getting a transfer spot for my money.
Yeah, they certainly could be, and it's anyone's guess as to who's going to be in that top four as well as a result, because of how equal it is in the terms of this heat. So we'll be interested to see who's going to come away with those top four spots. I think it's given that Lewis HEWET and Daniel Gow are probably going to take at least 2 of those, so it's, I guess, going to be a scrap for the final 2 transfer spots.
That's it. It's going to be a tough one. We'll have to keep our eyes on 4th place. So Brad O'Brien in the 77, winning a round of the ASC series and showing that he has what it takes to take consistent victories in the 410 sprint car. Starting from 3rd, he's in a really good position to take advantage of this. Lewis HEWET, starting on pole, he wants to get a consistent run of good results going. Yes, he's shown great pace all throughout the season, but luck has never quite fallen his way. He's been involved in incidents just about every night of the championship so far. So he'll be looking to turn his fortunes around here in the final 2 rounds, consolidate some kind of championship position. In comes the pace truck into the pits here at Volusia, and it'll be up to HEWET to lead them away. He goes a bit early, and away they go. Green flag, and Brad O'Brien immediately into second. That was a great jump from O'Brien, timing it really well with HEWET, but here comes Daniel Gow to try and get him back. down the inside into 3 and 4. Well, that's going to allow O'Brien to come back at him on the start-finish stretch, side by side for 4th meanwhile. That's Luke Payton and Brenton Hobson going wheel to wheel for the final transfer spot. And have a look there at the number 8 of Dylan DeBono. Goodness me, this is great racing.
Yeah, it certainly is. And it really is all on for that final transfer spot as well. DeBono going to try and drive around the outside of Payton on 3 and 4, and that's car in the wall in the back.
Yeah, spinner. That was Darcy Wilson getting turned by Tyler Bish, but this fight, oh, there we go, together goes Luke Payton and Brenton Hobson, and Hobbo into the wall. Further contact between Payton and DeBono. Payton's been turned over on the front stretch. That's still in DeBono. He would have been in 4th, but now he's back into 5th. The transfer spot, Tyler Bish's for now. That was a big turn of events.
Yeah, it certainly was a very, very big turn of events, and just looked like DeBono came up a little bit too much into Luke Payton, unfortunately, and they made contact and ended up in the fence and Payton down the order now as a result. But Tyler Bish is going to be absolutely loving this with the fact that he's got some nice, clean air in between him and to those in front and behind as well, so he's going to be able to walk away with the transfer spot quite nicely here.
Yeah, and walking away with the lead is Lewis Hewett. He hasn't been troubled at all as he begins his final lap. Just nice and easy through these fast turns at Volusia, barely turning the wheel at all, just steering it with the brakes and the throttle through these corners. So there goes Hewett across the line, takes victory in Heat 2. Brad O'Brien and Daniel Gow complete the podium, and Tyler Bish in the final transfer spot. Dylan DeBono across the line in 5th, but he has been black flagged by race control for turning Luke Payton on the start-finish straight. And I don't think Brenton Hobson is going to be very happy with how things have gone either. So now into Heat 3. Joel Berkeley and Caden Brown on the front row, with Bradley Oldfield, the championship leader, starting alongside Kane Della. Brayden Shute and Max Lumsden on the 3rd row, with the field rounded out by Ashton Manif and Billy Ryan. Now, if I were to pick a winner just out of this one, I'd go for Berkeley first, but we got to remember Joel has not been here for the whole season. He's hasn't got that rhythm down that Bradley Oldfield has, who has taken part in every round so far. I reckon Oldfield's going to give him hell here.
Yes, certainly. Oldfield's going to want every point he possibly can to try and extend that points gap that he's got to Harry Stewart at the moment. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But for sure, Berkeley is definitely not going to make it easy for Oldfield as well, with the fact that he's very, very quick in these 14 sprint cars. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here in this heat and whether Berkeley's going to be able to hold off Oldfield or whether Oldfield's going to be able to get on by and take the winner here.
Either way, Oldfield is within the transfer window, so if he stays where he starts, he'll be guaranteed a spot in the feature. They're going to have to be careful about that, and drivers behind them all, like Max Lumsden, Brayden Shute, Billy Ryan, Ashton Manif, all of those guys have shown they can get up into transfer spots in heats. It all depends on how the drivers come together in the corners. There could be one mistake, one botched move, and that is your night made or broken. We'll have to wait and see. Just half a lap to go here. Pace truck will pull in once again, and we'll go racing. 8 more laps of 900 horsepower V8 single gear action starting imminently. Joel Berkeley times it really well as the pace truck goes right in, and Bradley Oldfield up into 2nd place. He covers off Caden Brown out of turn 2. Losing a bit of pace, meanwhile, is Brayden Shute, falling back slightly, almost getting tagged in the rear by Billy Ryan. But they're all through, and Brayden Shute trying the slide job on Kane Della, not succeeding. Have a look at this. Bradley Oldfield is pressuring Joel Berkeley massively. There's a car spun in the back. That is Brayden Shute, and he's going to go to the back. But this is a great battle for the lead here, Cam. What can Bradley Oldfield do? Berkeley's covering him off on the inside at every opportunity.
Yeah, certainly. Oldfield's looking left, he's looking right, but there's just no gap for him to get on by at this stage. And then Berkeley running slightly higher there through turns 1 and 2, but Oldfield not quite able to get the power down enough to drive on by, so he's going to sit station again and second for the time being. And Berkeley, like you said, is just placing his car exactly where he needs to.
Yeah, getting up into the groove as well. A little bit of extra traction on that moist clay thrown up by the other cars. Just having that outside line, turning the car a little bit less is what's helping Berkeley here. He's just nailing the exit every time, and Oldfield can't really do much. The rest of the field is line astern as Oldfield tries once again on Berkeley onto lap 7 now. Oh, Berkeley goes a little bit high. Oldfield tries to go down to the bottom. This is going to be his chance. Berkeley's on the slick. Oldfield through on the inside. Can Berkeley get him back? A bit of contact between the two of them, side by side across the start-finish line as we come on to the final lap. And they're going to be trading places out of these corners right to the end. Berkeley goes all the way down to the inside to cover off Oldfield. Will he keep the momentum up on the inside? Side by side across the line. It looks like Berkeley has just got it there from Oldfield. And Caden Brown coming across the line less than a second behind in third place. Kane Della comes in fourth in the final transfer spot of that heat. What a race that was. We've got one more heat to go though, and it's going to be Clayton Davies and Harry Stewart on the front row of this one. Aston Hurley and John Schultz lining up behind them, with Lockie Beattie and Gavin Sadler 5th and 6th. Aaron Kelly and Bradley Minshall round out this field. This is going to be the last before our consolations. We've got a double B main coming up, and that'll sort out the final few spots for the feature grid. But we've got 8 more laps of racing to go before then. Davies or Stewart is the big question off the front row. But Aston Hurley and John Schultz certainly know about their capabilities.
Yes, certainly. And it's going to be a very, very different track to what some of these drivers had in qualifying as well as a result of all the previous heats. So it'll be very interesting to see how these drivers are going to adapt and how they're going to go in this heat, with the fact that it's going to be a little bit more about driving technique and keeping it out of the slick than actually just keeping it right down on the bottom side of the racetrack. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but certainly is going to be probably in favor of one of those top 4, if not anyone in this heat.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. You see how much the track has evolved over the course of the last 3 heats, and a slick line going almost all the way around the racetrack now. Great view of that on the start-finish straight, but you see on the right of the screen a lot of fresh clay down there on the inside. Basically means that the drivers starting on the inside will have a bit more traction. So Clayton Davies is going to be the one taking massive advantage of that as they come up to the final couple of turns, waiting for the pace truck to jump on in, and then there's the cue to get going. So Clayton Davies versus Harry Stewart. Front row, away we go, and it's a good jump from Davies, but the second phase, he didn't quite hook it up. Stewart, a nice smooth run, and keeps himself in second as they enter turn 1. They're starting to break away a bit from the field, but Aston Hurley and John Schultz starting to work together to try to get up to them. Lockie Beattie having to defend from 2 cars. Gavin Sadler and Aaron Kelly, who come together and get into Lockie Beattie, both of them, or actually all 3 of them, managing to stay nice and forward. That was almost a terrible incident, but we keep racing. Aston Hurley now pressuring for second place. He's right up there with Harry Stewart and Clayton Davies. That exit from turn 2 not going to help him versus John Schultz.
Yeah, certainly it wasn't an ideal exit there for the man himself, but certainly is going to try and close up as best as he can. You can see he's just trying to finesse the wheel inputs that he's having by putting in as little as he possibly can to try and catch up to the 2 here, but it's just not quite enough at this stage. And Harry Stewart is all over the back of Clayton Davies at the moment, and could easily tow a side job if he wanted to, but it's just sitting station for the time being. But here he goes. He's going to tow one in turn number 3 just to upset it, and he's going to end up barely holding on to the position. Davies going to not quite be able to come back at him though, so Harry Stewart into the lead of this race.
Excellent job from Harry Stewart. Covered him off really nicely down the start-finish straight. We'll only have 2 laps to go when they cross the line next, so Clayton is going to have to pull out all the stoppers here if he wants this heat victory. The top 4 have broken away from the rest of the field. All of the guys that you're seeing at the moment are safe, and John Schultz has a great gap to Lockie Beattie and Aaron Kelly up ahead. They're trading places in the bottom 4 positions. But final lap for our leader. Harry Stewart has actually eked out a bit of a gap over Clayton Davies, and it looks like he's timed it perfectly. Out of the final turn he goes, takes the win. That's Clayton Davies in second, Aston Hurley third, and John Schultz coming across the line in fourth. And that bottom four there, Kelly, Beatty, Sadler, and Minshall, all having to work their way through the consolations. The first of which is coming up right now. The first of our B mains tonight, David Heilemann, is going to line up alongside Max Lumsden up at the front of this one, with Nathan Norman and Billy Ryan behind them, Ethan Bastian and Ashton Manif on row 3, and Mitchell Broom and Brayden Shute 7th and 8th. And this one, a little bit longer. This is going to be a 12-lapper, this B main. It's going to be the same for the second one as well, right after this. So drivers have to put a little bit of extra fuel in their cars. They got a bit more time to consolidate their position, but one rule remains the same. If you finish in the top 4, you are through into the feature, but you finish outside the top 4, you're going home.
Yes, certainly. So it's really, really going to be important, especially for some of those in the championship, to try and get within that transfer positions as well. So really just need to keep your nose clean at the end of the day and just make sure that you can get on through to the feature so that you can then work yourself way up the order to get some more points. But certainly is going to be a really hard task here to try and win this one, with the fact that David Heilemann is starting on pole here.
Yeah, it's going to be a very tough job for all the drivers behind David Heilemann. Obviously, David, in his heat, not having the best of luck, had a bit of trouble moving his way forward into a transfer spot, but starting from pole, that's the best opportunity he has here to consolidate a spot in the feature. He's just got to make sure that he avoids contact with the drivers around him. And if he hooks up this start, he'll get the gap he needs before racing even starts. So, half a lap to go. Max Lumsden, starting on the outside, he's going to have to be very careful not to be caught sleeping on this start as the pace truck pulls in. Green flag is out, and David Heilemann is away. Max Lumsden didn't quite get the jump. He's backed up the entirety of the outside row. They've all been shuffled back there. Lumsden gets back ahead of Nathan Norman as Heilemann leads, and into second goes Ethan Bastian. But can Max Lumsden get him back here in the number 55? Down the front stretch, away they go. Ethan Bastian all the way to the top of the circuit, and hey, there's the proof. Looks like the top is in.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's working very, very well. It's the top side of the racetrack at the moment. Lumsden's trying everything he can at the moment, but going to throw a slide job as Billy Ryan to try and come back at him up the inside, and he's going to hold on that position, but Lumsden's going to come back at him into turn number 3. Slide job for Lumsden, and he's going to take that position straight back off him, but he's going to have everybody straight on his bumper. Once again, covers off on the inside to sit in the middle of the road in contact with himself and Ryan, and he goes, loses 2 positions out of that.
Yeah, he does. Max Lumsden back then into 5th place. So the battle is basically for third on back here. All of these drivers wanting those final transfer spots. The top 2, Heilemann and Bastian, have broken away from all these guys. Billy Ryan holds on as Max Lumsden goes for the slide job on Brayden Shute, tries to get the transfer spot back, but does not. Shute gets him right back on the start-finish line, but have a look at the way he's held it around the outside as Billy Ryan for 3rd place. That is fantastic stuff. And trying to work his way up is Mitchell Broom, but having a lot of trouble there in the second last spot. Brayden Shute into 3rd now and fighting for that transfer spot with Billy Ryan. Excellent stuff we're seeing here.
Yeah, certainly trading places Shute and Ryan at the moment. Shute's going to go for a slide job at turn 1 and make it stick. Checks up Ryan a little bit as well in the process, but Ryan's going to drive it back underneath him on the way into turn number 3 with a bit of a slide job, makes it happen, but Shute's going to drive it back down underneath him on the exit of turn number 4, and on the way into turn number 1 he's going to be on the inside. Slide job and move done, so he's back into 3rd place for the time being.
Yeah, if they battle a bit more, this will give the advantage to Lumsden, who's down there on the inside of the circuit, and there are the 2 spots ahead of him that he wants. This is going to be quite the interesting last half. They've only got 2 laps to go after this one. Can Max Lumsden get the transfer spot back from Billy Ryan? He tries the slide job once again, but just not able to advance forward. Ryan is looking very comfortable there on the outside of the circuit. Lumsden goes for the slide job once more, but there's just nothing doing for him at the moment. Heilemann up the front, meanwhile, looking incredibly comfortable as he starts his final lap. And sticking down to the inside, there's another move there by Lumsden on Ryan. This could work out for him. We'll have to wait and see. But across the line goes David Heilemann, a bit sideways. Bastian in second. In third goes BRAYDEN, SHUTE, and it looks like Billy Ryan holding off Max Lumsden by 5/10. Lumsden, Norman, Broom, and Manif are all going to have to go home. Sorry, guys. We will see you next week at the final round. But we got to move forward quickly because now it's time for B-Main number 2. Darcy Wilson and Aaron Kelly, first and second. Brenton Hobson and Lockie Beattie in third and fourth. DeBono and Sadler on the third row with Payton and Minshall on row 4. Jacob Dixon rounding out the field here. Now, Dylan DeBono and Luke Payton might have something to settle in this race after they're coming together in their heat. Of course, DeBono has already been given a black flag by race control, so there shouldn't be any reason for a bit of biffo, but we know how passionate dirt racers can get.
Yeah, you certainly do know how passionate they can get, and sometimes a little bit too passionate, but nevertheless, we'll see what happens here in this B-Main and whether they're going to end up settling their differences on the track or whether there's going to be something a little bit more to the story, but nevertheless, we'll wait and see what happens, and we'll also wait and see what happens and see who ends up making the transfers to the A-Main out of this one.
Indeed, once again, it's the top 4 spots that transfer through. So we're going to be seeing 5 drivers eliminated in this one. And a little bigger field as well, 1 extra car. Doesn't seem like much, but these tracks are small enough as it is. You can barely fit a full field of cars around here. And not much space for drivers to work things out between them. So starting on pole, Darcy Wilson with Aaron Kelly starting in second place. How are they going to match up as the pace truck pulls on in? Let's see how early he decides to go. The green flag flies, and Aaron Kelly getting up onto the wet clay at the start almost helped him at the initial phase, and it has really helped him out of turns 1 and 2. He's going to go for the leaders. There's a big coming together in the back, and into the wall goes Bradley Minshall. Manages to keep going, but to the rear as Aaron Kelly now into the lead of this race with Darcy Wilson in second, Brenton Hobson up into third. Big shuffle with Jacob Dixon into the transfer spot, but really pressured by Dylan DeBono on the inside.
Yes, and DeBono's going to try the inside line here. It's probably not quite going to work for him, though it actually seems like it might be doing enough at the moment. In contact between himself and Dixon. Dixon barely holds on to it and manages to gather it back up. He's going to have lost a little bit of time there, but they haven't lost too much to the drivers around them, so they're going to be okay here in terms of trying to fight for this final transfer spot. But you can see DeBono is wanting to get a move on here. He's looking very, very racy, and Hobson with a slide job on Wilson. Wilson's going to drive back underneath him, though, on the way into turn number 1 with a slide job as well. So he's going to take that position back, but Hobbo's going to have the momentum on his side on the exit of turn number 2, slide job into turn number 3, and he's going to take that position straight back off him.
Yeah, once again, and it seems like he's covered him for now, unless there is a big move by Wilson into turn 1. Dylan DeBono still down there on the inside. That little strip of fresh clay by the wall is what's really helping him out here. Down on the slick, you've got to be really careful. Wind the big wing forward, get a bit more turn in on the car. But it's a really tough job here, and it seems to take forever to try and work up another spot. Of course, DeBono wants to get in front of Wilson so that he has a car between him and Dixon. And it looks like he's just about ready to sort that out. He is ahead of Wilson, but sticking to the inside now, starting to pressure Brenton Hobson. DeBono's form down there on the bottom has been fantastic in this race, but none of this is troubling Aaron Kelly up the front in car number 7. He is a mile away from everyone else here as DeBono messes up the exit slightly, gives the traction to Brenton Hobson. It is well and truly on now for second place, and it looks like Darcy Wilson might be in danger of losing out to Jacob Dixon for the transfer spot. Into the wall goes Dixon. Oh, there we go. And he is over. He had it right there. It was right in front of him, like the carrot dangling from a fishing rod. But into the wall he went. And that is race done and night done for Jacob Dixon. De Bono then up into second versus Brenton Hobson. This is now the final lap, and Darcy Wilson remaining in fourth. Luke Payton not far up enough to get it done. There goes Aaron Kelly across the line, and in second it is going to be Dylan De Bono. Hobson completes the podium with Darcy Wilson in fourth. All those guys transferring through to the feature. But Luke Payton, Gavin Sadler, Lockie Beattie, Bradley Minshall, and Jacob Dixon are going home. Okay, it is time to catch our breaths here at SimSpeed TV. It's just a non-stop sequence of events, and every single dirt event we cover. We're going to take a very quick break here, but do not go away. We've got a 30-lap feature coming up in the next few minutes. A full field of drivers ready to tackle Volusia Speedway Park. You're watching the Oceanic Dirt Sim Events Wheelman Challenge, presented by Buffalo Motors. It is time for the end of the night, time for the big race that decides everything in this round of the Oceanic Dirt Sim Events Wheelman Challenge. Of course, presented by Buffalo Motors and broadcast live here on SimSpeed TV on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. My name is Reese Gardner, and Cameron Dance in the commentary box with me if you've just joined us. We've gone through a fantastic preliminary run with 4 heats and 2 B mains. But we have a 24-car field here, Cam, and we are getting ready to go racing for 30 laps here at Volusia. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, certainly looking forward to this one very, very much, especially with how the racing has been tonight. It's been very, very close, and it's been very, very exciting. So looking forward to seeing what we can do here with the 30 green laps ahead of us, and who's getting up taking this one out.
Yeah, well, Clayton Tilley and Lewis Hewitt are in the box seat for it, starting on the front row, with Joel Berkeley and Harry Stewart right behind them. What a great top 4 this is. And a top 6 too, Nathan Clark and Brad O'Brien on row 3. Our championship leader Bradley Oldfield starting from position 7 alongside Clayton Davies, with Trent Gosley and Daniel Gow rounding out the top 10.
Over the page, and you're going to have Caden Brown followed by Aston Hurley, Jane Russell, Tyler Bish, Kane Della rounding out the top 15, John Schultz just behind him, him, and then you're going to have David Heilemann, Aaron Kelly, Ethan Bastian, Dylan DeBono to round out the top 20 before you go back to Brayden, Shute, Hobson, Ryan, Wilson to round out your 24-car field.
It's going to be a tight squeeze here at Volusia as the drivers move away from the grid. 2 more laps here behind the pace truck before we go green, and well, it's probably not going to be the last time we see the pace truck tonight, because these races in the Wheelman Challenge have been nothing short of chaotic at a few rounds. I remember particularly the wingless at Eldora. The trucks at Eldora, sorry. We basically got 2 laps of green flag running in every time before there was another caution. Hopefully the same doesn't happen here at Volusia. It's a car and track combo that the majority of these drivers are more familiar with than anything else on the service. So, looking forward to the green flag dropping and seeing what kind of racing this brings.
And then hopefully it is a bit cleaner than what we've seen in previous rounds, like you said, but nevertheless, we'll have to wait and see what happens, and really is going to be just a matter of keeping your nose clean at the end of the day, especially if you're someone like Bradley Oldfield, who's starting a little bit further down than he probably would have liked down in P7 as well, so he'll be having to try and keep his nose clean and try and minimise the points lost to Harry Stewart, who's starting in P4, but Pace Truck is off and we're underway, in a very, very good jump from Clayton Tilley and a very good jump from Joel Berkeley as well.
Yeah, excellent. They both lead into turn 1, and Stewart goes directly for the inside line. HEWET going for the middle line as they come down the back straight for the first time. No incidents in the field so far, but it's very close up the top here. Clayton Tilley and Joel Berkeley, massive amounts of pressure for the lead as Harry Stewart continues to work the bottom, starting to advance forward ever so slightly, just grabbing HEWET on the entry into turn 3. We'll have to see what happens, but this... Whoa, Lewis HEWET getting into the wall on the entry into turn 1. Keeps it going, though, and it looks like there's a bit of a problem at the back, and that is Bradley Oldfield that was pushed back, and a couple of cars in a pile up behind them. It looks like that's Ethan Bastian and Kane Della that have come together. We made a bet, Cam. I said that there'd be 2 laps of running before the first caution. Look what's happened.
Like, wrong, you certainly did get that correct, so the money is yours. But yeah, an interesting incident there. I'm not quite sure what happened entirely. Bradley Oldfield was slightly involved in it in some form or another. He actually hit the inside wall on his own, and then I guess everybody sort of checked up and got caught out by the slick on the way down on the bottom side of the racetrack, and it was all more or less Ethan Bastian's own fault because he got loose, and then unfortunately Kane Della had nowhere to go.
Indeed, and Della on his side gets flipped back up onto his wheels and then back over onto his side again. Here is the onboard view from Kane Della, and that's Ethan Bastian up ahead of him in the blue and white machine. Bit of contact there on the inside, and then Bastian gets a bit loose into the wall, and up he goes. So that is what brought out the caution. For Bradley Oldfield, though, not quite sure what went on with him, because he's down there firing it into the first turn. Oh, that's what happened to him. He clipped the inside wall himself. So I reckon there might be a bit of suspension damage on the front end for Oldfield. It's going to be a tough one for him from here. Those walls do not forgive.
Certainly don't, and he may have some damage, I think, based on that sort of impact that he had. So if he gets away with it, he'll be very, very lucky. He needs to go buy himself a lotto ticket, but nevertheless, we'll have to wait and see what happens, and he really is going to need to try and consolidate a finish here, at least, if he can't move up the field. So we'll have to wait and see what happens, but he's all the way down in about P11 now, so he's really got a lot of work ahead of him.
That he has, and just before the caution came out, Joel Berkeley grabbed the lead from Clayton Tilley. Pace truck coming back in, and we're getting going racing again. Joel Berkeley with a great start. Harry Stewart follows him really nicely on the inside into turn 1. Clayton Tilley grabs second place back and has the traction on the outside, but there goes Harry Stewart up the inside into turn 3 to try and get second place. We'll see if that's worked out for him. It looks like it has, but the field is all together behind him. I'm looking at the battle for 7th place on back, because have a look at David Heilemann working his way up through this field. Man, there's a huge amount of cars around him. I don't even know where to look.
3 and even nearly 4 wide at some points on the track through turns 3, and there's a little bit of contact further back, but everybody's still straight, so we're still under green flag conditions. But you see, everybody's battling very, very hard and using various ones, and that's yellow.
Yeah, and that's Ethan Bastian into the wall heavily. He's missing his front wing. He was missing it before that point. We'll get a replay thanks to our mates at Modem Simulation, and this is how it happened. Well, it was coming into turn 3. Bastian got away with that incident at turn 1, but coming into turn 3, BRAYDEN SHUTE trying a slide job up the inside, but Ethan Bastian having to go tight for Billy Ryan. So both Bastian and SHUTE coming together, and that's what brought that caution out.
Another few laps behind the pace truck. Is it going to be the recipe for tonight, I guess, based on how we're going? But yeah, certainly is going to be helping the likes of Oldfield and a few others as well just pick up positions and also just sort of settle down a little bit and try and recover to get back into the mode of it.
You saw BRAYDEN SHUTE there going to the rear of the field. He's been given an end-of-line penalty by race control for being the car that caused the caution. So he's got a fair ways to work himself up, and Ethan Bastian will have to try his best to work his way up as well. They're going to be starting together at the back of this one as Kane Della remains in the pits. I think Della conclusively our first retirement of the night. Big shame. We spoke to him last week, and he was feeling pretty good about his podium in the UMP mod, but not going to back that up here today in the 410 sprint car. So we're going to get another start here. Double file once again. Restarts will be single file if there is back-to-back cautions, or if there is a caution in the final 10 laps of the feature. But we're going to do it all again now. Pace truck in, and Berkeley is away. A good start from him. Harry Stewart can't quite match him, and Tilly on the inside once again. That is the inside line with the advantage off the start at least, but watch for the outside to come into its own as the laps go on. Berkeley immediately moving up to the top as there's a big gaggle of cars down there on the bottom with Aston HURLEY, Bradley Oldfield, and Jaden Russell going 3 wide down the back straight. This is incredible stuff as the field streams into turn 3 again. David Heilemann has worked his way up into 4th place now. He's actually managed to pip Clayton Tilley and now pressuring Lewis HEWET, who runs in 3rd. HEWET getting into the wall a couple of times as up the front, Harry Stewart and Joel Berkeley are tooth and nail stuck together and starting to pull away from the field.
They are starting to pull away from the field a little bit here with the gap that they've got and just the way that they're running so clean and equal to each other. Meanwhile, it's a very big scrap currently for the likes of 6th and 7th, and it's a big incident on the front straight.
Oh, that is huge. Yeah, we've got a car up and into the wall, and I'm not quite sure who that was. It was Daniel Gow, one of the cars that got involved in that one. And twirling up onto his roof was Aston HURLEY. So take a look at what happened here. And it's going to be on the run down the start-finish straight. Daniel Gow down there in the purple machine. What's happened to him here? Oh, there we go. Looks like that was Aston HURLEY just coming down. They might have made a little bit of quarter contact, and it must have spun Aston HURLEY right into the path of Daniel Gow. So now Daniel stuck in the wall, Aston HURLEY up on his roof. It looks like both of those drivers are now out, along with Clayton Davies, who has unfortunately had to retire out of that.
Really unfortunate there for those drivers to be involved in that sort of incident. It was just a matter of just coming together, unfortunately. So not the way that they're going to want to have ended their night, especially for the likes of Clayton Davies and a few others as well, who are up a little bit in the pointy end of the championship. So they're going to have to try and recover it next week at Charlotte. But nevertheless, it's a very, very mixed up order at the moment, and Oldfield's still sitting in P9 at the moment. So might not be doing too bad, but he still needs to get a bit of a move on.
Yeah, he does, but he's got quite the hill to climb up ahead of him. Ahead of him lies Brad O'Brien, Nathan Clark, Jaden Russell, Clayton Tilley, David Heilemann, Lewis HEWET on the podium spot. So if Oldfield wants to continue forward, he's going to have to get really racy on this next restart. It obviously pays for some drivers to just take it easy, wait for the cautions, and work their way up through the field like that. But, I mean, we're already at lap 10 of our green flag laps. It's going to be a difficult one. In comes the pace truck. Green flag is out, and Joel Berkeley away, but looks like the rest of the field really stuck with him this time. Hewitt goes to the inside along with Tilly. Stewart joins him up the top, as does Heilemann. Right in the middle of the circuit is Jaden Russell, and it looks like he's stuck there, trying to go up the inside of Lewis Hewitt down the inside on the right of your screen, and there goes Jaden Russell up into third place, it looks like. No, fourth, as Joel Berkeley gets the move done on Harry Stewart up into the lead once again. Those guys battling hard as we have another caution out already. Looks like it's Dylan DeBono and John Schultz involved in that one.
It looks like DeBono actually got into Tyler Bish on the way down the back straight, and Bish actually had a little bit of contact with BRAYDEN SHUTE as well, so that's what caused it all. And unfortunately, DeBono was left with nowhere to go, and then Schultz just ploughing on in with, again, nowhere to go.
Let's have a look there. There's the initial contact, and Schultz collects him right there in the blue and red. So Dylan DeBono, a very unhappy night, just remaining just as unhappy. This is the onboard, and yeah, that contact from up ahead for Tyler Bish is what started all of that. BRAYDEN SHUTE was the car up ahead. Let's have a look at the rear view. So there's Tyler Bish down there, out of screen at the moment. But there we go, the 41. Oop, there we go, and just leaves them all behind to get collected. It looks like Tyler Bish is the one who's been deemed the caution causer for that one, and he's gone all the way to the back of the grid for this next restart. Couple of small technical issues for our leader, Joel Berkeley, as well. That's a little concerning. Ooh, and almost getting into the wall there down the front stretch was Lewis Hewitt. When you're driving at a low speed, these cars are very difficult to turn right, so you need to make sure that your trajectory's okay on a formation lap.
You certainly do, and with the fact that they naturally want to turn left, it definitely makes it a little bit harder to try and keep these things going straight under caution, especially at low speeds as well. So you have to be a little bit careful and aware of what's going around you and keep that momentum up as best as you possibly can, but we're not too far away from going at green once again.
Yep, pace struck in. Let's see how far we get this time. Good run from Joel Berkeley initially, and that's a much better start from Joel than last time. Field's still sticking with him. Heilemann all the way to the inside now. He's thinking that might be where the grip is, at least until the field sorts itself out. But Jaden Russell homing in on him down the middle of the circuit with Clayton Tilley advancing through in the number 51. You see him up there up the top, the black and red car. He's really doing well, getting past Lewis Hewitt as we are now half race distance, finally. Our top three, Berkeley, Stewart, and Heilemann, with Jaden Russell starting to work more towards the bottom to try and move
Berkeley's in the fence
forward. Oh no, he is too. All the way to the rear of the field. No caution. Where's the caution? No caution. Berkeley's going to keep going here. No, he's retired. Berkeley's out. And we stay green. So that's Harry Stewart into the lead of the race now. I can't believe that. Oh, whoa. Got cars coming together. That is Hobo 88 there, getting turned around, and that's the caution out. It looks like Lewis Hewitt is out as well. Something incredible has happened. Not quite sure where to start dissecting it, but let's have a look at what happened to Joel Berkeley first. Oh no, let's have a look at what happened to Hewitt first. Down in turns 3 and 4, got bumped into the pit lane. And of course the pits are closed during the race, so you don't want that to happen. And Brenton Hobson getting tagged there by, was that Aston Hurley? Or Tyler Bish, sorry, I think it might have been Bish.
Kind of looked like it by the looks of it, but we'll get a replay and see what happened to Joel Berkeley. It looked like he just clipped the outside wall on the way down the back straight. Well, very close there, and actually was nearly in the wall there through turn number 1, and then coming down the back straight. Oh yeah, just clips the opening and that's it, up and over and into the wall and pretty much collected by everybody on the way by.
Yeah, he got hit again once he came to a stop there. It's a big shame for Joel Berkeley. Let's just see what happened here. Great position for the camera, just a little bit too high, and then whack, away he goes. And from that point, you are just a passenger. It almost looks beautiful sailing through the air like that, but Joel Berkeley will have beauty as the last thing on his mind. He was right in contention for victory in this feature, and now he's going to come away with almost no points in this final race. He will have gotten a great points haul throughout qualifying and the heats, though, so he can at least have that as a bit of a consolation. We're coming up to the end of this caution, though. Our retirements now including Lewis Hewett, Dylan DeBono, John Schultz, Aston Hurley, Daniel Gow, Clayton Davies, and Kane Della from this feature. Joel Berkeley, it looks like, is still out on circuit, so we'll see if he can work his way forward. Green flag once again, and Harry Stewart is going to lead them away. A great start from him. Jaden Russell fans out, but the caution is immediately out again. Before we even got to turn one, it was Billy Ryan coming together with another car there in turn one.
Yeah, it all actually started off the restart out of turn number 4. He got into the side, I believe, BRAYDEN, SHUTE, and then unfortunately Trent Gosling had nowhere to go as well and got involved in that as well. Luckily didn't gain any damage out of that, but unfortunately Billy Ryan going to be in a little bit of strife here.
Yeah, and BRAYDEN SHUTE has retired as a result of that. Obviously incredibly unhappy. And Billy Ryan waved around the pace car here. He can get back on the lead lap. Another replay of the start. You see them coming together and, well, there's not much you can do off a restart with that little room down there on the start-finish stretch.
You certainly can, especially with the fact that the car's going to be naturally pulling left as well, so it's going to be even harder for them to try and keep the thing straight and pointing in the right direction, and unfortunately it's ended in tears there, as clearly demonstrated.
Well, lights are still on the pace truck. We're going to have one more lap here behind it, but the restart is going to be single file as it's now back-to-back cautions. We did not complete any green flag running in that amount of time. So Harry Stewart is going to lead them away, but he's not going to have the pressure of an entire row of drivers on his outside. It's just going to be one by one through to the green flag.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of the advantage for someone like Harry Stewart, who's fighting for a championship and currently leading this race, that the single file restart is going to give them the best possible advantage to try and pull away from the rest of the field and get a best of a jump as possible compared to the rest of the field. So we'll see what he can do and whether he's going to be able to use this to advantage. Is going already in. Clayton Tilley's managed to stay with him reasonably well, so not too much of an advantage there, but David Heilemann down to the bottom side of the racetrack to try and challenge him for second place, but not quite going to be able to get the drive off the corner though.
The only clean clay in the turns is the thin strip around the outside. You can see there's barely any room down there on the bottom for a car to get onto the fresh clay. And there goes Clayton Tilley trying for the lead. Harry Stewart gets him right back, and David Heilemann now with the momentum goes up the inside of Tilley into turn 4 and almost gets the position, but over the bumps and ruts that are now forming in the circuit, the drivers are having a lot of trouble keeping the traction, keeping the wheels going. There goes David Heilemann down to the inside once again and hugs the inside wall. And is that going to be enough to get past Clayton Tilley? No, it's not. Once you get to the exit, the car just slides. There is no grip at all for the Heilemaniac.
Yeah, it certainly isn't. No grip currently for where he's running. There's a little bit of fresh clay in the middle of the track, but very, very difficult part of the track to run in at this stage of the race. So he's going to try and persist with the bottom side of the racetrack at turns 1 and 2 at least, but certainly not really finding too many gains down there at the moment. But he's drawing up alongside with Clayton Tilley at the moment, but loses out massively on the exit of turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, it looks like you have to be on the outside if you want to protect your position. So Heilemann has got his work cut out for him here. It's going to be an interesting finish as we are going to have 5 to go at the line. Oh, Clayton Tilley into the wall and backed up into Aaron Kelly. Wow, both Tilley and Heilemann coming together on the start-finish straight. Tilley is going slow. It's going to take a bit for him to get back up to speed, but David Heilemann no longer under pressure for second place. It looks like Tilley has got damage, and he might be out almost. He is actually out of the race. There goes Clayton Tilley. Oh, they're dropping like flies. Aaron Kelly now in 5th place, and this is quite the battle here. Fighting with Bradley Oldfield and Jaden Russell just up ahead, with Nathan Clark right behind. 4-way battle here for the last position in the podium. And we've got 2 laps to go now for our race leaders. Oldfield with some great momentum there through the turn and taps Jaden Russell. Oh, there we go. Russell to the inside, whacks Nathan Clark out of the way. There goes Bradley Oldfield up the inside of Aaron Kelly, and could he try it again on Jaden Russell? No. It's going to be final lap now for our leaders. Harry Stewart and David Heilemann together on track. Who is going to come out on top here? Harry Stewart with the momentum, with the traction out of the final corner. Heilemann spins out of the final turn, and that is Harry Stewart taking the win, with Jaden Russell coming through in 3rd place. We missed that. That was a big change-up on the final lap. Stewart, Heilemann, and Russell, your top 3. Bradley Oldfield ending up in 4th out of that.
It's like Russell was pretty well clear, but Oldfield barely did enough to grab the extra position off the man he got by, which was Aaron Kelly, just in the final corner as well. Drove around the outside very, very well as well, so it was very, very close, but unbelievable race in the end.
The cameras flashing in the grandstands as they came across the line. What a dramatic race that was to finish things off, but that is going to be how things go. It was Harry Stewart and David Heilemann, your top 2, with Jaden Russell completing the podium. And what a great way to finish off. David Heilemann spinning across the line too. Very dramatic way for things to finish. We're just waiting for drivers to jump in for interviews, and we'll be able to ask the top 3 about what their night was like. But once again, Volusia just turns it up. And right on cue, we have our race winner in the box with us. Welcome back, Harry Stewart, and congratulations on another fantastic victory in this series. It was quite the fight between you, Joel Berkeley, and Clayton Tilley, but it looked like up the front they started dropping like flies towards the end.
Yeah, I was sort of surprised myself. I didn't think I'd be on with the same pace as I think Joel and David. That race, I thought I'd sort of be just a top 5 car. I didn't really think I'd be there, but yeah, I think I got lucky that was the last lap I saw in my mirror down the back straight that David was like basically beside me, and it sort of scared myself. So I sort of blocked him, and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, well, either way, a fantastic finish for you and Volusia turning it up once again. Just as the race goes on, you know, we see that the slick line moving all the way across the circuit. So you've really got to be either extreme top or extreme bottom to try and make it work. And it looked like it was a case of, are there cars around you, informing that decision?
Yeah, I knew the bottom would be good at the start. I went there and I sort of made a mistake. I thought I could clear Joel on a slider, and I wasn't able to, and that sort of showed Joel the bottom was there, and he went to the bottom. Then that yellow came in. I was on the outside, so I sort of thought, I've got nothing to lose to go to the top, and it worked. Then I had another run on Joel. I sort of just mucked up my slider when I tried to get past him and showed him the line. Then he went to the top, and yeah, I think Joel ended up just murdering himself on the wall. But yeah, I was trying to figure out where the line was changing. I tried after that last restart to go middle 3 and 4, and Clayton got a really good run. And we almost came together in 1 and 2. So I sort of knew it wasn't in yet. And then I think David just figured out the bottom was back in since we were getting so much higher on the track.
Well, either way, that is an excellent points haul for you, with winning the heat, doing well in qualifying and winning the feature. Championship rival Bradley Oldfield finishing in 4th at the end of it. So it looks like the championship might just go down to the wire. You might still be in this with 1 round to go.
Yeah, I think Brad was pretty annoyed because he was going to use his drop round as a no-show because I think he was sort of busy next week. So I don't think he's going to be able. Oh, yeah, he's going to do it, but I don't think he would. He would have rather sort of wrap it up here. But I think Brad's still got a bit of a gap over me. It's just yeah, comes down to the last round, I guess.
Yes, and we'll be hoping to talk to you once again there. Before we let you go, Harry, who would you like to thank at United?
Yeah, just everyone at United, Sim Sports, KCLD Cleaning, Harrop Engineering, High Performance Videos, Origin Graphics, Ultimate TV, 87 Creative, and JAR Productions and Media.
That's Harry Stewart there, feature winner here at Volusia in round 5. Next driver that we're going to talk to, stood by with Cameron Dance, is David Heilemann, 2nd place.
Certainly, it was a very, very solid 2nd place in the end for you, Dave. It wasn't quite the one you probably would have hoped for, but certainly not a bad result in the end.
Yeah, it was. I think we started 17th, and we were able to kind of get lucky and dodge stuff early on in the race and put ourselves in a good position at about the halfway point. Track was racy the whole time, though. I had a top, had a bottom, and then I was trying to get that middle coming at the end, but just wasn't quite enough. Just wasn't quite consistent at the end. I would have loved to taken one away from those United boys with Harry and Joel, but just came up 1 spot short.
Yeah, certainly. And did you find the number of cautions that we had a little bit surprising, and were you caught off off guard a little bit by the middle, or was it just more or less using it to your advantage in some way to have all those cautions?
It's an Australian race. I expect a minimum of at least 8 yellows, but that one cost me. That last double file restart just put me back to 3rd, which didn't necessarily help because I think Tilly made a mistake, on the front straightaway, and it let Harry get a little bit of a gap, but other than that, it was fine.
With the final round of the series heading to Charlotte in the super late models, are we going to see you there at all, or are you going to decide to call it a day and decide to sleep in a little bit more?
Who knows? we just take every day by day as it goes. But yeah, it's like thank guys all out slick, and then you guys for putting on, Brady for putting on the league. It's been fun.
Well, there you have it, Reese. You're a 2nd place finisher for the night, and you are stood by with our 3rd place finisher.
I am indeed. Jaden Russell joins us. Jaden, welcome. A fantastic result for you after starting in 13th in the feature, working your way up to 3rd. Looked like that was a good car for you.
Yeah, it actually came on brilliant. I sort of picked the middle out at the start of the race and stuck with it. Got lucky avoiding some incidents and managed to get it up to the podium.
Obviously, this is fixed setup, so you can't really do much to alter the way the car handles on the slick. But once again, it looked like you were a bit more comfortable in the middle of the road than most others, especially towards the end.
Yeah, I just sort of wound that wing back and put myself in a spot where I couldn't really make a mistake, and the others running the top were a lot faster, but as it showed, they made the mistakes and I ended up in the spot, so...
And with a 3rd place, I mean, you were 7th in the championship coming into this round, but with the likes of Darcy Wilson and Brad O'Brien not having great nights, it certainly puts you in contention to move up a couple of spots coming into the final round.
It's definitely going to be interesting going into the final round. Hopefully put on some good racing in the late models at Charlotte. Sounds like a good combination.
It certainly does. We hope to speak to you again there, Jaden. How do you think you're going to go there in the late model?
It'll be an interesting one, I reckon. I haven't done a lot of running with the late models, especially in the supers, so I might have to do some practice, hopefully get up there in the championship.
We'll see what happens in the final round. Before we let you go, Jaden, anyone that you'd like to thank at your team, Synergy Sim Racing?
Obviously, all just the guys at SSR, Hobbo for helping through the night, all the guys on the car, JK Signs, DJD, and yeah, Posies, everyone on there. Big thanks to them.
Jaden Russell, a fantastic 3rd place here in the feature at Volusia. And that brings to an end proceedings for tonight. We got one round to go, Cam. Next up, we have got the late models at the dirt track at Charlotte. That's going to be a fun one. It's a big, fast, high bank track at Charlotte, and the late models really turn it up. They're big cars with big engines and basically stuff all aero.
Yeah, certainly. It's going to be a really, really good round, I reckon, and really looking forward to it as well. We're pretty much going full World of Outlaws world final spec here with the super late models at Charlotte. But yeah, looking forward to it and seeing who's going to come out on top, whether it's going to be Oldfield or Stewart who's going to wrap it up. And yeah, really looking forward to it in the end.
We'll see you this time next week, same place on SimSpeed TV on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. The final round will crown a champion in the Oceanic Dirt Sim Events Wheelman Challenge presented by Buffalo Motors. I'm Reese Gardner, Cameron Dance joining me in the commentary box, and it's Jay Kennedy in the director's seat making everything happen behind the scenes, bringing you the stream in the first place. From all of us here at SimSpeed TV, bye for now, but certainly not forever. Is it going to be Oldfield or Stewart?
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rhythm, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my God!
big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, here we go.
Oh no!
That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?